Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Boardroom Business. Here's another amazing episode. I hope you are ready to hear about the wonderful opportunities with crowdfunding. Yes, I have a special guest, Mr. Bill Huston. He's here tonight, to talk about crowdfunding as well as other things, but that's the gist of what we're going to discuss. So please make sure you have your pens, notebooks, grab a friend, grab a family member. You don't want to miss this because this gentleman helps businesses gain access to capital. And he's going to tell you how. All right. It's all about wealth building. And so, without further ado, let me bring on Mr. Bill Huston. How are you tonight, sir?
I am doing well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I couldn't wait to have this interview with you because crowdfunding, I'm very interested in learning all I can about it. And so I might as well have the best. So I've heard about you. And then also, you are one of the authors in the anthology of The Power of 33. We're going to hear what you have to say in The Power of 33 with whatever it is that you would like to share with the world, because this is a book that is going to be all over the globe. It's a movement, and I'm so thankful and honored that you're a part of it. So how did you hear about The Power of 33?
I actually learned about it from someone who I work very closely with, Shantae.
Yes.
We used to do a show called The Power of Crowdfunding. And it was a LinkedIn live show that we did every Monday at 8:30. And that was a really great experience working with her. She's very professional. And, she told me about this opportunity. So I was absolutely excited to take advantage of it.
Oh, yes. I can't wait because my part as well. I think the people that are a part of this book are all inspirational people that can help anyone who is willing to learn. So thank you again for being a part about that of that book. Again, that's The Power of 33. Make sure you check it out on thepowerof33.com. All right, now back to you, Bill. Bill, thank you again so much for being a part of this. I'm just ready to learn. Can you tell me first? Tell me a little bit about who is Bill Huston?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, I always want to thank people for tuning in because there are a million other things you could be doing with your time, and you're here listening to me. So I greatly appreciate people's time, taking their time to listen to me. So I grew up in the Cincinnati area, just south of the city of Cincinnati. I turned 18. I joined the Army. I was a medical lab specialist in the Army, and I worked in that field, in that space for a very long time. I didn't really like it. It was a living. I made money, but there was always inside of me this desire to learn more about entrepreneurship. I remember in 1984, someone introduced me to Earl Graves and Black Enterprise magazine. And then that was it, right? I just it was always something there burning. Back in the 80s and early 90s, you really couldn't sit down with a laptop at your kitchen table and start a business. You needed a lot of capital to be able to start businesses. But as technology has moved on, as the world has changed and the world has come online, there are many more opportunities. So, that's kind of who I am. I always had that burning desire for entrepreneurship, to learn more about entrepreneurship and to understand entrepreneurship. Always kind of took my lead from Black Enterprise magazine, from reading about, Black people who were successful in business. Reginald F. Lewis was someone. His book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? Absolutely love that book. I was actually in Baltimore and met his nephew a few weeks ago at Super Crowd Baltimore. That was pretty exciting. He has a library named after him, so it's always a big hero of mine. And Robert L. Johnson from BET, though both of those guys were really big heroes of mine because they were entrepreneurs. They didn't come from the best of circumstances. I mean, they came from not the best of circumstances, maybe poverty. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but if you read their books, you'll understand that. So they probably won't have a problem with me saying that. And and they really made a dent in this world. And the thing about entrepreneurship is that entrepreneurship, it's bigger than the entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneur solves problems, and those problems are, maybe they're local problems, maybe they're regional, maybe they're global problems, but they solve problems, and then people pay them for solving those problems. So that's why I really love entrepreneurship.
Wow. So let me ask you this. If someone were to read your autobiography, that I'm sure will come out sooner than later, what would they find out about you, your early humble beginnings? What got you inspired about entrepreneurship?
So definitely, if you read my autobiography, you are going to understand that I came from humble beginnings. So I was raised by my dad, which was quite unusual at that time, and there were benefits and drawbacks to that. People say it's my way and the highway, and growing up with my dad, it was his way. Period. Right? There wasn't even a highway; it was just his way. Some of the things that he taught me, though, um, were like life lessons, right? And it was about working hard and that work ethic, and really putting in that work ethic. Playing sports, growing up in high school and stuff, really, really, there are a lot of lessons that you can learn from sports. And I think sports are very important, right? Not necessarily that you are good in sports, that you're great, that you're going to be a professional player, but the lessons, learning how to be part of a team, learning how to work with people. And I was having this conversation this morning with an ex NFL player who's an entrepreneur, and we talked about stick to itiveness, and I don't even know if that's a real word, but it is so important in entrepreneurship. So many times people will start the process, they'll quit, right? Because in a year, in 2 years, they're not making the money they thought they were going to make, or they'll chase the next shiny object. And really being willing and able to stick to what it is that you believe is going to make an impact in the world. I think that's one of the most important things. And those were the real lessons that I learned from my dad. Really keep working, be disciplined, work hard, have faith in what it is that you're doing, have faith in you, and don't give up. I think that would be the main lesson. I've had many ups and downs in life, bunch of downs, right? This is not my first business. I've had businesses that have failed along the way, but I stayed with it, and finally, I've come to a place where things are looking up on a consistent basis.
Mm. Wow. So, what inspired you to stay consistent when you wanted to give up?
So what really inspired me to stay consistent was just a strong faith and belief, in what I was doing, and in God, a strong faith and belief in God. If I could tell a story here,
Okay.
this is so I like to tell stories because people can really see what this looks like, and what it is that I'm trying to get them to relate to. So we had a business called City Life Local Foods, and things kind of fell apart because we were unable to access capital. We were growing. Our idea was really innovative. We were able to get local food, not only into food deserts, but also into local corporations. And we had to stop the business because we didn't have the capital to grow the business.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity in Cincinnati to kind of do the same thing. Right now, at this point, I'm living in Louisville, and it was an old guy that I used to work for, an old connection. He was actually the director of the health department when I worked for the Cincinnati Health Department, and we connected, and we started a company called Cincy Fresh. And at the last minute, things fell through. And I was sitting in the car with a friend of mine, and he said to me, he said, "Bill," he said, "I hear fear in your voice." And he said, "Always remember what God's got for you is what God's got for you.
Woo.
And, after that deal fell through, I started getting into digital marketing. I would get up at 4 a.m. and learn digital marketing. At this time, right, it was after the Great Recession. And, I was working at a factory, and, I really did not like the factory. I liked the people, but I did not like the work that I was doing at all. So I would get up at 4 a.m. to learn digital marketing from HubSpot, right? There's a little commercial for them. And, I would work at that every day until, I went through their program. I graduated from their program, and, and I started H2 Communications. And, just the belief in myself, the belief in entrepreneurship, and the belief that I had the ability to make an impact on other people's lives. I think a lot of times entrepreneurs really get a bad rap, is like, they just want to make money and they just want to be rich. But you can't make money and you can't be rich if you're not solving problems, because people won't pay.
That is so true. Wow. So you mentioned City Life Local Food. Can you talk about that a little more?
Yeah, City Life Local Food was a venture that myself and my oldest son, we started. And the goal was to get local food into Kentucky's largest market, which is Louisville, Kentucky. In West Louisville, that's where I live. I live in West Louisville, Kentucky, in East Downtown, and also to get to make the food, fresh local food, more accessible in the urban area. So we started the company, and we would do local farmers markets. We would do pop-up farmers markets. And then we connected with Humana, which is a Fortune 500 company, Spalding University, the University of Louisville. And there was an opportunity to really start to innovate this. So there's something called CSAs, which is community supported agriculture. And you give your money to the farmer at the beginning of the growing season. And as the farmer grows, he gives you whatever he grows. So I thought about that process, and I thought, never would I go to Kroger and give, somebody at Kroger my money and tell them to put into the bags whatever they wanted to put into the bags. So we created this thing called the personalized local food basket. So every week we knew what farmers were going to grow. We would get that list out via email. This is early days. This is early. We would get that list out via email, and then we would have people actually pay us in advance. We would purchase the food and deliver it to them either at a farmer's market or at the corporation. And as the business started to grow, we needed to buy a refrigerated truck, and we needed to expand where we were keeping the food. So we went to our bank, and we tried to get a loan, and we couldn't get a loan from the bank. It is understandable that we couldn't get a loan, right? Because we were a very early company, but growth was moving along pretty rapidly. So we went to the city, we talked to economic development, and it's funny, one of the person in economic development said, no one would pay you in advance to do this. He said that's not a good idea. And I said, they already are, right? We need this capital to expand. This isn't an idea. This is expansion capital. So they said, well, we won't give you a loan, but we'll write you into this grant. So the grant comes out, and we were never written into the grant. I'm not really sure what happened there, how that process occurred. And, so we kind of went under, and maybe we would have went under anyway, because the Great Recession kind of followed on that heels. That's how I ended up working in the factory. As much as I dislike that, I was happy that I had income and employment and was able to take care of my family. And then during that process, as I said, I learned digital marketing, and my son and I started again, and we started H2 Communications.
Wow, that was really great that you were able to be a role model for your son and show him entrepreneurship, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. But that's really important for us to pass it down to the next generation. So thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely. That's really important. And we still talk a lot about entrepreneurship. He has thus since went off and got a job as a tech engineer. But you know, we still talk about it a lot. He's actually going to Chicago with me to Super Crowd. So yeah, that was exciting. It was exciting to be able to do that with my son as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, you've given him some seeds that, can only sprout from there. And so that's beautiful. So congratulations on being a father, taking care of your son. So I have to give it your roses while you're alive, because that family is so important, and legacy, and just giving him those seeds. So that's very important to me. So thank you. So back to you. And this beautiful opportunity to receive access to capital. Well, tell me, can you break it down? What is crowdfunding?
So crowdfunding at its very essence is pretty simple. It is a large group of people coming together and contributing their money for a specific cause. One of the examples that I use, coming from, that kind of Southern Baptist church background, is, every Sunday and Wednesday, they pass the plate, that collection plate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I went to church, I expected that the lights would be on, that there would be, heat in the winter, air conditioning in the summertime, that the water would run. I expected those things. No one person paid for that, right? It was a group of people who bought into a vision, whatever that vision was, right? At this time, we're talking about the church. And we were all willing to make small contributions, which added up to a large amount of dollars. And in its very essence, that is what crowdfunding is.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what happened? So the very first crowdfunding project in the United States, this is kind of interesting, but if you've ever heard of the Pulitzer Prize, right? Mr. Mm-hmm. Pulitzer, who was a publisher of newspapers, actually used his newspapers to raise capital to build the base of the Statue of Liberty. That's what they call the very first crowdfunding campaign. So I'd spoken a little bit before about the Great Recession. Yes. But after the Great Recession hit, no one was lending money whatsoever. And crowdfunding, it was just kind of the right time, the right timing. So people started to look at crowdfunding, but also digital marketing was coming online. Facebook, Twitter, at that time it was only Facebook and Twitter pretty much, were coming online. And that's where crowdfunding really moved from, maybe passing the plate or using newspapers to using digital media. Right. If I could indulge another story here. So I had a company, my son and I had a company called H2 Communications. And I was in an entrepreneurship program, and my son was in another program called CAP, Community Action Partnership. And there were like 7 or 8 businesses in CAP. And the lady who was the director, Rebecca Brenzel, she comes to us one day and she says, there's this really cool website called Kickstarter. And if you put up really cool videos, people will actually fund your business. So because we shot video as part of our business offering, we shot 7 videos. And Rebecca put them up on Kickstarter, and we made absolutely nothing. And it was funny because when I went and I looked at Kickstarter, there were businesses that were literally getting funded. And from that, I learned one fundamental rule. And this is really important. And this is the only fundamental rule that I find in crowdfunding, no matter what type of crowdfunding it is. And that is, if you do not build an excited and engaged crowd, you will not get the funding that you are looking for. The one thing to remember about crowdfunding is that your money is in your crowd, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the bank, your credit score. It's about your ability to excite and engage a crowd of people to buy in to your vision. So after that point, what happened after all those crowdfunding campaigns failed, I continued to look into it. And one thing I discovered was that my skill set was easily transferable to the crowdfunding realm. So
Mm.
I started working on crowdfunding campaigns. If somebody wanted Twitter done, I would do it. If someone wanted a press release written, I would write it. I would do advertising on Facebook. Did I mention I was not getting paid for this at all? I really wanted to get into the space, and I kept working and I kept working. And as people started to successfully raise capital working with me,
Oh,
I started my Crowd Rocks, which was, kind of my first foray into that business. That was around 2011, 2012.
okay.
In 2014, Inc. magazine named me one of the top 19 global crowdfunding experts to know. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I'm not sure what that meant or what the metrics were, but it sure improved business for me.
Oh, no, big time. I'm sure. Wow.
But
Wow. That is great.
getting back to your question, though, about crowdfunding. So, the very essence of crowdfunding is a large group of people, contributing dollars to a shared vision. Those people have to be excited and engaged, right? As church obviously is. Um,
Mhm.
and there are basically three types of crowdfunding.
Okay.
There's donation crowdfunding, and where I just directly make a donation to something. You think GoFundMe, usually some type of disaster, or something has
Mhm.
cropped up, an emergency in someone's life. They don't
Yeah.
have the capital reserves to take care of that, so they do a GoFundMe campaign, and they raise money from the crowd. Normally, the only benefit I get out of that is internally knowing that I helped someone
Okay.
in a time of need. Then
Okay.
there's rewards crowdfunding, which is where I initially started. And rewards crowdfunding is a type of donation crowdfunding, and I say it's a type because there again is the only thing that you get is the reward, whatever that reward is. In the early days, it used to be maybe a T-shirt, maybe a mug. As time moved on, what happened was businesses started to pre-sale products, whatever their product or service was. So,
Mhm.
let's say I had an iPhone case. I would create a campaign, and on that campaign, that rewards-based campaign, I would sell these iPhone cases, pre-sell
Mhm.
them, right? So you provide me with the money, and 3 months, 6 months into the future, I provide you with the actual iPhone case, right? That I've built with the capital that I've received from you. Um,
Okay.
and although a lot of people don't like that now, because with investment crowdfunding, you can raise considerably more money. It's more complex with investment crowdfunding. The big difference is this is no longer a donation. There is a legal security attached to your contribution, to your
Okay.
investment. So you get a stock, you get a bond, you get a debt notice, a debt note. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry, did you have a question for me?
No, I'm listening.
Yeah, so there you always have a security attached. And when I say a security, that means that it is actually monitored by FINRA and the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. So you've seen very little fraud in this space. And one of the reasons is because if you fraud people, you are going to wind up in court and potentially in prison. There's very little fraud in this. The real opportunities of in both rewards and investment crowdfunding, there are opportunities to, number one, help businesses get started, help businesses, from their very start. Sometimes an investment crowdfunding, you have a business that's already up, running, and successful, and they need capital. Let's say you have a coffee shop, and you go to that coffee shop, and that's where you get coffee every morning. And they want to build a second location. They want to expand that location. They want to expand the offerings to that location. So they say to you, if you invest this much into this company, right? Our goal is to raise $100,000. We raise that $100,000, we will pay you through a revenue share, right? So we're going to share the revenue that we make, that increased revenue, at 1.5 times, 2 times the rate of what you invested over a 2 or 3 year period. right? That's just an example of what a deal may look like. For companies where equity makes sense, what you may do is you may say, okay, you can buy stock in this company for 30 cents a share, 50 cents a share. And now you are a shareholder, just like you are with a publicly traded company, except now you have a private company. Why do I make the distinction between public and private? Because if you can imagine a company like Facebook, right, when it had its IPO, people made a lot of money, right? The people who got in early bought their stock early, and then during the IPO, it went up, a lot in value. Well, imagine if you owned 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 shares at 30 cents. And then it went public, right? So I'm gonna take a little trip back into history here and tell you the importance of investment crowdfunding. For 80 years, non-accredited people, non-wealthy people, that's people who make less than $200,000 a year, individually, or as a couple, less than $300,000 a year, or they have a net worth that is more than $1 million minus their primary residence, right? Those are pretty wealthy people. They are accredited investors, and they are allowed to invest in anything they want. They can invest as much money as they want to. So for 80 years, non-accredited, regular working people were forbidden from investing in those private deals. So I could never buy Facebook at 30 cents a share. I always had to wait until it went onto the public market at $10 a share, $50 a share, whatever that was. That was the only way that non-accredited people could actually purchase. So I think you see already that the real opportunity here is to get in on companies at the ground floor, at the basement floor, right?
Real. How do you get in rooms where they're discussing these ideas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what crowdfunding does, investment crowdfunding allows you to get into those rooms really early. Another advantage, there are a few advantages to investment crowdfunding. Number one is, could you imagine going to the bank to get a loan and you telling the bank, this is the interest rate you're going to pay? Yeah, that's never going to happen. But with investment crowdfunding, you set all the terms. You determine whether it's interest, you determine whether it's debt. If it's debt, what the interest rate is. You determine if it's equity, how much each share is. If you're doing a revenue share, you determine how much of the revenue share. You are completely in control. The other good aspect of this is that everybody gets the same terms. So obviously, if a guy was going to invest $1 million, somebody else was going to invest $100, you're going to give better terms to the person that's going to invest the $1 million, right? With crowdfunding, it's not like that. Everybody gets the same terms. If you think about venture capital and how venture capital works, you put together your road show, you take it on the road. That is assuming that you even have a network, right, of venture capitalists who you can talk to, right? Most people in our community don't even have that network, right? So if you have that network potentially, and you do that, you go out and you change each time their presentation for whomever it is, whatever angel or venture capitalist that you're pitching to. Crowdfunding takes that funnel and turns it completely upside down. And it provides one place for everyone to see the same deal and the same opportunity. And the real deal here is being able to drive traffic to that opportunity so that people can invest in the opportunity. And because I never like to mislead people, you have to start with your own network. You have to bring people from your network. If you don't, they will not come. I guarantee it. they will not come, right? If you build it, they will not come. You have to bring it, by engaging and exciting people about what it is that you're doing.
So is that what you do essentially? I would call you up. How does this work?
Basically, what I do is I help people get their offer up. So because this is legal, you have what they call a Form C. And the Form C is a document that explains everything about the offer.
Okay.
Normally you should have that at the very least reviewed by an attorney, maybe prepared by an attorney, but at the very least reviewed by an attorney. So, I help you with your Form C. I help you with your offering documents. I help you create the offering page. And then I help you market that, right? I help you create a strategy around how to market, who it is that you're going to reach out to, and really bring people from that discovery phase into the implementation phase of the crowdfunding campaign.
Wow.
And one of the things that's interesting, and I tell people that my real value proposition is that on average, a person who discovers crowdfunding, it takes them 14 to 18 months to start raising capital.
Okay.
If you work with me, I am going to be able to reduce that time to 4 to 6 months. From the time you discover crowdfunding through me to the time that you have your offer up and ready to start raising capital.
So, what makes you the guru?
I don't necessarily know that I would call myself the guru, but the one thing that I would say that differentiates me from a lot of people is the fact that I've done this multiple times, right? So I've worked on 15 campaigns. Of those 15, 13 of those have been successful, and
Awesome.
we've raised about $1.7 million through those campaigns.
Wow.
So some of it is experience. I came over from the rewards crowdfunding arena, so I really knew how to market. Right, some of the other things I had to learn in the process early on. I worked very closely with Linda P. Smith from Buy the Block. Buy the Block doesn't exist anymore, but it was such a big part of my career and entry into investment crowdfunding. Linda had the first Black woman-owned platform, regulation crowdfunding platform in America.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah, so I always give her a shout out, even though Buy the Block didn't kind of make the cut. I always give her the shout out. She was able to raise $110,000 on a rewards crowdfunding platform, and then she took that $110,000 and purchased Buy the Block and built that out.
Wow.
So rewards crowdfunding is very important. And if I could give a quick shout out to Fund Black Founders out of New York. Renee King is the founder and CEO, and I work very closely with her as a consultant. Last year, we did 45 Black-owned businesses. We took them through through the Fund Black Founders crowdfunding process, and we raised well over $200,000 through rewards crowdfunding.
Awesome.
It absolutely is, and a lot of those companies would have had no opportunity to grow and blossom without crowdfunding, because they would have never had the opportunity to get loans from the bank or venture capital.
Wow. So do you believe that you are standing in your calling, your element, or is there anything else that you would like to do while you're here on this planet?
I don't think there's anything else I would like to do. I mean, I feel like helping businesses, helping especially Black businesses access capital. And one thing I didn't talk about is the other side of investment crowdfunding is the opportunity to build wealth through inclusive investing. Understanding that many of these wealth building opportunities didn't exist for non-accredited, non-wealthy people. And today, investment crowdfunding not only provides access to capital for founders and business owners and real estate developers, but it also provides the community an opportunity to invest and build wealth. So I think being in that space, kind of straddling those two worlds, is what's really exciting for me, and really being able to not only have a footprint here in the United States, but also in the Caribbean and on the continent of Africa. those things. The more I'm able to grow, in those three areas, yes, I am happy where I am in that space, but I would definitely like to grow it and expand it.
Yeah, because that was my next question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh, but wow, I see it. I definitely see it. And that's wonderful that you will be able to help people worldwide. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so in the rewards crowdfunding space, when I said Inc. Magazine named me one of the top 19 global crowdfunding, I've raised capital on through rewards or investment crowdfunding on every continent except Antarctica. So I don't think anybody lives there. Um, so it is global. The opportunity is global. Good business is where you find it. Good investment opportunities are where you find them. And I'm really excited for the opportunities in Africa, because it's 1.3 billion people, right? That's a billion people more than live in the United States.
Yeah.
But the real opportunity there is that the majority of the population is between 15 and 35.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So, wow, this has been, uh, I've learned so much, and I really appreciate you taking the time out on Beyond Boardroom Business to explain it, because I definitely learned a lot. What would you like to leave the listeners and viewers?
This is the one thing that I would really love to leave. Make an investment, right? Make $100 investment. And because when you do that, you will really feel not only the value of what your return may be, but you will feel the value of being a part of a group, waking up every day to see if this business reaches its goal. And then after that business has reached its goal, being able to know that you're a part of that business and that you played a part in the growth of that business. And I just think that it's really important, because that first investment is always the hardest. Once you make that first investment, I think that people will like it. And it's really important, especially in our community, that we support the businesses that are in our community through that access to capital. And if we make those investments, I guarantee we are going to be the best customers and the best brand advocates for those businesses as well.
Wow. So, for example, I can invest $100 for my son so he could be able to keep up with it and learn along the way. Is that?
Yes, absolutely. It allows you, again, remember, we're talking about getting in early, right?
Yeah.
At the ground floor on some of these companies. Caveat, you could always lose your entire investment, right? These are brand new startup companies. But, getting in, learning the business, understanding the business. I just made an investment in a wine company, a Black-owned wine company from out of Baltimore.
Okay.
So I don't drink wine, and if I did, it surely wouldn't be good wine. But being able to be a part of that company, right, and in helping them, and and really, so I actually had the opportunity to hear the founder pitch live in Baltimore, and then I again heard them at Super Crowd 24, which was a virtual event, and then I actually made an investment there. So yeah,
Wow.
making the first investment is really, really important.
Wow. Thank you. You've definitely inspired me to help pass the torch forward to my son. And I definitely want him to be able to see how it's done. So I really appreciate that. Thank you again. Unless there's anything else, you have left me full of information, full of inspiration. And I really appreciate you, Bill.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate all the listeners who took time out of their day to listen to what I had to say.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. It was very insightful. I learned so much about donations, rewards, investments, venture capital, wealth building, I've learned a lot, and I hope you have as well. Again, this is Beyond Boardroom Business with your host, Coach Stephanie. That's me with 2 F's for feeling fabulous. Please tell your friends and family about me. Please subscribe. I appreciate you. Join me every week, Thursday at 7 p.m. on all of the platforms. And in the meantime, and in between time, stay curious, stay motivated, stay inspired. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.